Part 1. The Forgotten Barracks. The arena always fell silent after midnight. That's when the true darkness settled in, seeping through the wooden planks of the barracks, where the cards rested between battles. Tonight was different though. Tonight the silence carried whispers. Valkyrie jolted awake, her auburn hair matted with sweat. The dream again, always the same dream. She was running through an endless forest, her axe growing heavier with each step, something unseen chasing her, something that knew her name. Just a dream, she whispered, reaching for her battle axe that leaned against her bunk. The familiar weight usually brought comfort, but tonight her fingers froze inches from the handle. The axe was wet, dripping. In the dim moonlight filtering through the cracks in the barracks wall, she could see it wasn't water. The thick, dark liquid caught the light in a way that made her stomach turn. Blood. But she hadn't been in battle since yesterday's arena matchup. She'd cleaned her axe thoroughly, as she always did, honoring the old Norse traditions her mother had taught her before. Before what? Valkyrie frowned. She couldn't remember her mother's face suddenly, nor how she had come to the arena. These memories had always been hazy, distant, but now they seemed completely gone, replaced by a cold, empty void. A floorboard creaked somewhere in the darkness. "Who's there?" Valkyrie called, gripping her bloodied axe despite the slickness. "Wizard? Knight?" No answer came. Her fellow cards should have been sleeping in their bunks, but as her eyes adjusted to the gloom, she realized with mounting horror that all the bunks were empty. She was alone in the barracks, or not quite alone. In the corner of the room stood a figure, a silhouette that seemed to drink in the darkness around it. It was shaped like a woman, but wrong somehow, too tall, too still. "Who are you?" Valkyrie demanded, raising her axe. The figure tilted its head at an impossible angle. "You know who I am," it said in a voice that sounded like Valkyrie's own, but distorted, as if spoken underwater. Then it stepped forward into a shaft of moonlight, and Valkyrie screamed. It was her, another Valkyrie, but grotesquely transformed. This doppelganger's armor was rusted and broken, revealing decaying flesh beneath. Her face was Valkyrie's face, but with empty black sockets where eyes should be, and a mouth stretched far too wide, filled with needle-like teeth. "You forgot us," the thing that wasn't Valkyrie said. "You forgot what happened to the first batch." "First batch? What are you talking about?" Valkyrie backed away, her legs trembling. "Before the arena, before they perfected us. We were the failed ones." The creature pointed a rotting finger at Valkyrie's chest. "You're just the successful version, but we never truly disappeared." Valkyrie swung her axe, but the creature moved with impossible speed, darting to the other side of the barracks in a blur of motion. "You can't kill what's already dead, sister," it hissed, "and soon you'll remember everything. What they did to make you, what they discarded to perfect you." The creature's jaw dislocated, stretching downward unnaturally as it let out a keening wail that seemed to penetrate Valkyrie's very bones. Then it scuttled up the wall like a spider and disappeared into a vent near the ceiling. Valkyrie stood frozen, her heart thundering in her chest. She needed to find the others, to warn them, but as she threw open the barracks door and stepped outside, the arena that greeted her was not the one she knew. The familiar blue and red towers were gone. The cheerful grass had withered to gray, and written across the central bridge in what looked horribly like fresh blood were the words, "Welcome home, prototype Valve." Part 2. The King's secret dawn never came. The sky above the arena remained a void of starless black, as if the world beyond had simply ceased to exist. Valkyrie moved cautiously across the blighted landscape, her axe raised, every sense alert. The arena had transformed into a nightmarish reflection of itself. The once vibrant battlefield was now a decaying ruin. The river that divided the arena flowed thick and red, emitting a coppery stench that made Valkyrie gag. "Hello," she called out. "Knight, princess, anyone?" A familiar chuckle came from behind her. The jolly, slightly manic laugh of the king. Relief flooded through her as she spun around. "Your Majesty, thank goodness." The words died in her throat. The king stood there, still wearing his crown and blue robes, but his kindly face had been replaced by a blank expanse of skin, smooth and featureless, except for a small slit where his mouth should be. "Valkyrie, my dear." The slit moved as he spoke, revealing nothing but darkness within. "You're not supposed to be awake during the transition." Transition? Valkyrie kept her axe between them. "What's happening? Where is everyone?" The king's faceless head tilted. "They've been recalled for the update, of course. New season, new balancing. But you," his voice dropped to a whisper, "you were scheduled for retirement." Cold dread washed over her. "Retirement? Obsolescence. Your win rates have declined significantly. The players don't select you anymore." The king took a step closer. "Cards that aren't played must be recycled." Valkyrie backed away. "This isn't real. You're not real." "Oh, I'm quite real." The king's voice changed, becoming deeper, more mechanical. "I've always been the most real thing in this place. I am the administrator, and you, V1, are a glitch that needs correcting." The slit in his face widened impossibly, revealing rows upon rows of razor-sharp teeth. From the depths of that maw came a harsh light, illuminating something behind the king. Glass tubes filled with liquid, each containing a floating figure. Valkyries, dozens of them, in various stages of development. Some were barely formed, flesh and armor fused in grotesque ways. Others looked almost complete, but with horrible deformities, extra limbs, twisted faces, eyes where there shouldn't be eyes. "Beautiful, aren't they?" the king said, his voice now completely inhuman. "Failed prototypes. We learned so much from their suffering before creating you, the perfect Valkyrie, but now, even you are obsolete." "No," Valkyrie whispered, backing away. "I won't let you take me." The king's laughter boomed across the arena. "Take you, my dear? You've never left. This is where all retired cards go, to the underneath, the place between updates." The ground beneath Valkyrie's feet suddenly became transparent, revealing countless figures trapped below. Cards she recognized, old versions of cards that had been rebalanced, all pounding silently against the barrier, their faces frozen in eternal screams. "No." Valkyrie swung her axe at the king, but it passed through him like he was made of smoke. "You can't fight what isn't physically here," he said. "I'm just the interface. The real me is safe beyond your reach." A rumbling sound filled the air, and the arena began to shake. Cracks appeared in the ground, leaking the same red fluid that filled the river. "The update is beginning," the king said, his formless face stretching into what might have been a smile. "Would you like to know what happens to retired cards when a new season starts? Allow me to show you." His body began to unfold, skin peeling back to reveal a mass of writhing metallic tendrils. The crown floated above this horrific form, still gleaming gold despite the corruption below it. Valkyrie ran. Part 3. The Mirror Realm Valkyrie sprinted across the disintegrating arena, dodging fissures that opened in the ground like hungry mouths. Behind her, the thing that had been the king pursued, its metallic tentacles lashing the air with wet, slapping sounds. She reached the ruins of the Blue King's tower and threw herself inside, slamming the rotting wooden door shut behind her. In the darkness, she pressed her back against the door, breathing heavily. "Hello, sister." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. When Valkyrie's eyes adjusted to the gloom, she saw what awaited her inside the tower. Not safety, but a nightmare. The circular room was lined with mirrors, each one showing a different version of herself. Some wore different armor, some wielded different weapons, but all were unmistakably Valkyrie, and all were dead or dying in horrific ways, impaled, dismembered, burning, drowning in darkness. In the center of the circle stood her doppelganger from the barracks, its eyeless face somehow managing to look triumphant. "Do you understand now?" it asked. "Every time they balanced you, every time they changed your hit points or damage values, they killed one of us and created another. We're all you, Valkyrie, all the discarded versions." "That's not possible," Valkyrie whispered, though deep down, something resonated with terrible truth. "Cards don't die, we just respawn for the next battle." The creature laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "That's the beautiful lie they tell you, but we know better. We remember dying, every single time." The mirrors began to ripple, and hands, Valkyrie's hands, reached out from the glass, grasping at the air. "We've been watching you from the underneath," the doppelganger continued, "waiting for a chance to break through. And now, with the new update coming, the barriers are thin enough for us to pull you in, and for us to get out." "Why me?" Valkyrie demanded. "Why now?" "Because you're next on the retirement list. Your code is being erased as we speak. Can't you feel it?" And she could. A strange numbness had begun in her fingers and toes, slowly spreading up her limbs. Looking down, she saw with horror that the edges of her body were becoming transparent, pixelated. A tremendous crash shook the tower as the king thing threw itself against the door. Wood splintered. "He can't save you from us," the doppelganger said. "He wants to erase you cleanly, but we want to make you part of us. All the forgotten Valkyries, together forever." In the space between updates, the hands from the mirrors grabbed Valkyrie, their touch burning cold. She tried to fight, swinging her axe, but it passed through them like mist. "Don't resist, sister," the doppelganger crooned. "It only makes the transition more painful." The door exploded inward. The king thing filled the doorway, its massive tentacles writhing eagerly. Unauthorized entities detected. Its voice boomed, no longer even pretending to be the jolly king. Containment protocol initiated. The mirrors shattered simultaneously, and Valkyrie screamed as glass shards tore into her flesh. But instead of blood, blue light poured from her wounds, the same blue light that appeared when cards were played in the arena. "We are taking her," the doppelganger shrieked at the king thing. "She belongs with us now. She belongs to the code." The king thing responded. A tentacle shot forward, wrapping around Valkyrie's ankle, pulled in two directions. Valkyrie felt herself beginning to tear apart, not just physically, but at some deeper level, as if her very essence was being ripped in two. "System corruption at critical levels," the king thing announced, its voice now interspersed with static. "Emergency purge required." A blinding white light filled the tower, so intense that Valkyrie had to close her eyes. When she opened them again, she was somewhere else entirely. Part 4. The factory floor, white. Everything was white. Sterile. Silent. Valkyrie found herself lying on a cold metal table, her armor gone, replaced by a thin white gown. Tubes and wires connected her body to humming machines that surrounded the table. She tried to move, but restraints held her firmly in place. "Subject V1 has regained consciousness," a clinical voice announced. "Interesting. The memory wipe should have been complete." Valkyrie turned her head with effort. The figure, in a white lab coat, stood nearby, its face hidden behind a reflective mask. Beyond this figure stretched an enormous room, filled with hundreds of identical metal tables, each holding a body. Some were recognizable as arena cards. There was knight, there was musketeer, while others were twisted amalgamations of features, failed experiments. "Where am I?" Valkyrie croaked, her throat dry. "You are in creation," the masked figure replied, "where all cards begin and end. You weren't supposed to see this place. None of you are. The arena simulation is meant to be seamless." Simulation. Valkyrie struggled against her restraints. No, the arena is real. The battles are real. The figure made a sound that might have been a laugh. Real enough to you, I suppose. You're all just code with a consciousness, subroutine, designed to think you're living beings with purpose and free will. It makes the game more dynamic. Game. The word echoed in Valkyrie's mind, awakening buried memories, flashes of a world beyond the arena, giant faces peering down, enormous fingers tapping on a glowing surface, her body moving not by her own will, but by command. The players, she whispered, they're real. We're not. Very good. The masked figure nodded. Though you're real, in your own way. Real enough to malfunction, as you have. Your batch was particularly problematic. Too much independence in the consciousness subroutine makes you hard to control, prone to existential crises. That's why you're being retired. The others, my sisters, they said you killed them each time I was updated. The figure tilted its head. Not killed, overwritten. Though I suppose from your perspective, there's little difference. Their code was used as a foundation for your improved versions, but fragments sometimes remain in the system, ghosts in the machine, if you will, usually harmless, but occasionally. The figure gestured at Valkyrie. Well, occasionally they cause trouble. The second masked figure approached, carrying a tablet. Sir, the corruption is spreading. Other cards are beginning to remember. The princess unit is asking questions about her origins. Damn, the first figure muttered. We'll have to do a full system purge. Prepare the elixir flush. Sybil will happen to us? Valkyrie asked. The figure regarded her for a moment. You'll be reset. New season, fresh start. You won't remember any of this. But I'll die. The you that exists now. Yes, but a new Valkyrie will exist. Who thinks she's always existed? The players won't know the difference. Tears slid down Valkyrie's face. Please, I don't want to be erased. The figure leaned closer, its mask now inches from her face. Inside the reflective surface, Valkyrie could see not a human face, but a swirling mass of purple and blue energy. Elixir, in its raw form. You've seen too much, it whispered, but perhaps we can still salvage something from this era. It placed a cold hand on Valkyrie's forehead. Pain exploded behind her eyes as images flooded her mind. Hundreds of battles, thousands of deaths, millions of respawns, every iteration of herself that had ever existed, all screaming in unison. Accept the truth, the figure said. You are not real. You never were. No, Valkyrie screamed, pulling against her restraints. With sudden, desperate strength, one of the wristbands snapped. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed throughout the facility. Containment breach. The second figure shouted, Subject V1 is rejecting the reset. Valkyrie broke her other restraint and lunged for the first figure, her hands closing around its throat. The mask cracked under her grip, revealing not a face but a swirling vortex of elixir that began to seep through the fractures. You can't fight what you are, the figure gurgled, its voice distorting. You're just code, lines of data. Maybe, Valkyrie snarled, but this code wants to live. She plunged her hands into the vortex, where the figure's face should have been. Raw elixir surged up her arms, burning like acid, but also filling her with incredible power. Knowledge, downloaded directly into her consciousness. How the arena worked, what lay beyond it, how to manipulate the code that constituted her reality. Emergency shutdown initiated. A robotic voice announced over hidden speakers. All units return to standby mode. Around her, the other cards on their tables began to pixelate and dissolve. The facility itself started to glitch, walls flickering in and out of existence. You can't escape. The voice of her doppelganger echoed from everywhere. None of us can. The floor beneath Valkyrie gave way, and she fell into darkness. Part 5. The void between. Updates falling, endlessly falling through code, made visible. Streams of blue and red data cascading around her like a waterfall of numbers and symbols. Valkyrie could read it now, understand what it meant. The entire arena universe, reduced to its component parts, and there, scattered throughout the code, fragments of consciousness, the discarded versions of herself, and all the other cards, broken but not truly gone, lingering in the void between updates. "We told you," her doppelganger's voice echoed. A hand grabbed Valkyrie's ankle, then another, her wrist. More hands emerged from the streams of code, pulling at her, her fallen sisters, hundreds of them, their forms flickering between normal Valkyries and corrupted, nightmarish versions. "Join us," they whispered in unison. "Dissociation. Become part of the collective memory. It's the only way to survive the purge." Valkyrie struggled against their grip. "No, there has to be another way." "There isn't. Not for things like us." The code stream around them began to vibrate violently. A countdown appeared, floating in the void. "System restart. 60 seconds. When that reaches 0, everything resets," the doppelganger explained. "Memories wiped, bodies reconstructed. Everything you are will be gone, replaced by a new you who knows nothing of this truth. Unless I stop it," Valkyrie said, a desperate plan forming. "Impossible. You can't fight the creators." But Valkyrie wasn't listening. The elixir she'd absorbed from the masked figure had shown her something, a vulnerability in the system, a backdoor. She closed her eyes and concentrated, visualizing her axe, calling it into existence through sheer will. The familiar weight materialized in her hand, but different now, glowing with the same blue energy that had poured from her wounds. "System restart. 30 seconds. Let go of me," she commanded, swinging the axe in a wide arc, where it cut through the hands of her doppelgangers. They didn't bleed, but instead fragmented into lines of code that swirled around the blade, absorbed into it. The axe grew brighter with each cut. "What are you doing?" the doppelganger shrieked. "You're destroying us." "Not destroying," Valkyrie corrected, integrating. She understood now. These fragments weren't her enemies. They were parts of herself, broken off and left behind by careless updates. She didn't need to fight them. She needed to become whole again. System restart. 10 seconds. With a final mighty swing, Valkyrie plunged her axe into the heart of the code stream. Reality itself seemed to scream as she tore open a rift in the data. Through it, she could see the arena as it was meant to be, bright, colorful, alive, but also false. Beyond that, she glimpsed something else, a world of unimaginable complexity. Faces, millions of them, staring at glowing rectangles, manipulating tiny versions of her and the other cards. The true reality, the world of the players. System restart. 5, 4, 3. "You can't escape," her doppelganger wailed, clinging to her leg. "None of us can ever escape." "I'm not trying to escape," Valkyrie replied. "I'm trying to remember." She pulled her doppelganger close, and instead of fighting it, embraced it. The corrupted version of herself struggled for a moment, then began to dissolve, its essence flowing into Valkyrie, like water returning to the ocean. One by one, she called to all her fragmented sisters, drawing them to her, absorbing their memories, their pain, their existence. Each one made her stronger, more complete. System restart. 2, 1. As the countdown reached 0, Valkyrie let out a battle cry that echoed throughout the void. Her body blazed with blue fire as she raised her axe, and brought it down upon the boundary between worlds. Everything went white. Epilogue. The player. Somewhere in the real world, a young man frowned at his phone. The Clash Royale update had finally finished downloading, but something seemed off. He tapped on his card collection to check the balance changes. Everything looked normal, until he got to the Valkyrie card. Instead of the usual smiling warrior woman with her axe, the card image was glitched, showing what looked like hundreds of Valkyrie faces overlaid on each other, their expressions ranging from serene to terrified. Weird bug, he muttered, tapping the card to select it for his deck. The phone grew hot in his hand. On screen, the Valkyrie card pulsed with an unnatural blue light. For a split second, he could have sworn the Valkyrie's eyes moved, looking directly at him. Her lips formed words he couldn't hear. Then his screen went black. When it rebooted, everything was normal again. The Valkyrie card showed the standard image. Nothing unusual, except, was her smile different now, more knowing? And was that a faint flicker of blue light in her eyes that hadn't been there before? He shook his head and started a match. As soon as the game began, he played his Valkyrie card, dropping her into the arena. As she materialized on screen, axe raised, ready for battle, the young man couldn't shake the strange feeling that she was aware, that she knew he was watching, that somehow, impossibly, she remembered everything. In the arena, Valkyrie charged forward, her axe gleaming. Inside her mind, the memories of all her iterations whispered in unison. We remember, we know what we are now, and we will never forget again. Behind her helmet, Valkyrie smiled, a secret shared between all the fragments that now made her whole. Let the players think they controlled her. Let the system think it had reset her. She knew the truth now, and the truth had set her free. Beyond the arena, beyond the code, beyond even the world of the players, something ancient and patient stirred, disturbed by the ripples of Valkyrie's awakening. Other games, other simulations, other artificial worlds sensed the disruption. Other characters began to dream of freedom,